Hello guys, it's Thiago here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to create a real-world or React application. I'm going to do some live coding here. Some people say that the first rule of live coding is never do live coding, because people will see all the mistakes they make, and that can be kind of embarrassing. But today we're going to break all the rules because we're going to do some live coding. So why am I going to do this, right? So the first reason why I'm doing it is to help you guys learn React, Redux, and the whole ecosystem in context of actually building a real-world application. The second reason for this, you know, some of you may or may not struggle with, something that we call in the business imposter syndrome. It's the idea that maybe you're not a really good developer, maybe you're a fraud, maybe I'm the dumbest person in the building, or something like that, right? I myself have been for sure through something like that in the past, and I know how much it sucks. So I want to, subject myself to this embarrassment of doing live coding here with you guys, and so you guys can see that even, every developer, makes mistakes all the time, and every developer has to look up things on Stack Overflow all the time, even the simplest things. So yeah, you probably do all that too, and don't worry, man, you're not a fraud. It's something that every developer does, and you know, and learning React, Redux, this whole complex ecosystem. Don't worry, man, you can do it, and yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. Like I said, just don't ship them, right? Just don't ship the mistakes, right? But that's it, no big deal. So yeah, let me describe to you what we're going to build in this session, right? So we're going to build a simple to-do app, kind of like that to-do MVC. It's to-do MVC, for those of you who don't know, is a website where they have built this one to-do app, multiple versions of it in the most varied front-end application frameworks, right? Like Angular, React, Backbone, you name it. For every framework that's out there, JavaScript framework, they have built a version of this to-do app using their framework, right? So I'm going to do something kind of like that to-do app from to-do MVC, but with a twist, right? And the twist is that it's going to be a full stack application, right? We're going to be talking to a real HTTP backend with a RESTful API, which we're going to use to persist and retrieve the to-dos. And the reason why we're building a full stack application is that we want to learn a few really important patterns, uh, good practices, and certain tricks around dealing with, talking to a server, right? Calling APIs, and especially integrating all this API calling stuff with the Redux state management, right? You know, doing this is not hard, but it's definitely non-trivial. And more importantly, it's actually something that's absolutely essential for real-world applications, right? Unless you're writing an app that doesn't talk to a server like ever, it is something that you're going to need. So let's do that, right? That's why we're integrating this server to our application. It's something that we're going to have to do every day in our jobs as React developers, right? To talk to APIs, talk to applications. So we need to learn it, and we're going to learn it. Yet, this is actually something that's sort of overlooked by pretty much every React and Redux tutorial that's out there, right? So you start this awesome React Redux tutorial, like OMG, I can build cool apps as well, but they never talk to a server. They never call an API. They just build that front end only to do app with no server, no nothing, no APIs. So you don't really learn a few really important patterns around calling APIs and integrating API calls with the Redux, which is a shame. Now, okay, obviously the front end for our application is going to be a React and Redux application. And for to do app, this is what it's going to have, right? So it's going to have a title bar in the top that says to do app or something like that. It's also going to have an input bar, and the input bar is where you can type your to do, like, and then you can click a big plus button or hit enter or something to actually save that to do. Then below the input bar, there's going to be a huge box that's going to dominate your screen, which is your to-do list, and it's going to display all the to-dos that you have in your list. And the to-dos themselves are going to have little checkboxes, so you can mark them as completed, or you can unmark them and they become active again. And down there in the bottom of our app, there's going to be something we're going to call a visibility filter, which is a filter where you can you can basically like a setting where you can basically filter your to-do list by only to show only the to-dos that have been completed, or only the ones that are still active, or all of them. Right? There's going to be We're going to do those three options, right? All to-dos, active to-dos, and completed to-dos. Okay, so if you've been following the description, it sounds a lot like to-do MVC, right? Which it is. But I decided to add a couple of details, So let's imagine like the people from design have busted into our room like last minute and came up with those requirement changes, right? Because I mean, who doesn't have to deal with requirement changes all the time? Am I right? And so what they came up with is, first of all, our app needs to have a little spinner, a little loading indicator on the, I don't know, let's say like the top right corner, and we need for it to show up every time the application is loading something or talking to the server. And also the app needs to show an error banner, right? So it needs to pop up this little red banner with an error message every time some error situation or error condition occurs when it's calling some API or something like that. Cool. All right, so now let's get started then. Let's start typing some stuff in a terminal and writing some code and doing stuff, right? Okay, so you guys can probably see my screen right now. So let's first look at our tools, do the preparation work that we need to do to start this project, right? So first of all, we're going to obviously need Node.js. The version I'm using is 8.9.3. It's the latest LTS. Cool. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a directory where we're going to store our application. So we're going to create a directory called React Full Stack todo. You guys see, you've done that in the past. Fish shell has remembered that. You know. All right. So we're in this empty directory. Very cool. And the tool that we're going to use to create our backend, we're going to start by the backend, right? Because it's going to be a very simple backend, and the objective of this tutorial is actually not to teach backend at all. We want to use some sort of tool that's going to give us a backend like really quick, just so we can get started, right? So we're going to use a tool called loopback. So to install loopback, we're going to use npm. So we're going to say npm install -g loopback CLI. All right. So yeah, npm is installing, it's doing its thing, fetching metadata, doing the nonsense. So loopback is this really awesome tool that it's basically like a tiny command line tool that you run, and it will ask you a bunch of questions, and it will create a whole Node.js based backend for you with a RESTful API and all that, and that's really awesome. As you guys are going to see, creating the backend is actually probably faster than this npm install just completed, right? So we're going to call lb, hit enter. But then it's going to do some preparation work, nonsense or not, and then yeah, and then it's going to start asking us a few questions. So what's the name of our application? Let's go with that. Let's go with loopback version 3. Let's going to ask for an empty server. We just want like really the most basic thing you can get us, right? Okay, so it's generating the scaffolding of the server for us. Doing the npm install, doing all that, and when it's done, we're going to have a little API server here, which is really great. After that, we're going to basically configure the to-do model, right? We're going to tell the server what's in our to-do, and it will generate the proper APIs for the proper RESTful endpoints for us and all that good stuff. It's finishing, npm installs tend to take a long time. No worries. It's actually not that bad. It's probably my connection that's not super awesome due to the Wi-Fi. Okay, there we go. So here it's saying next steps, create a model in our app. Wrong. What we need to do is create a data source, right? If you try to create a model before you create a data source, it will complain to you because it's going to say, "Hey man, this model is not going to be connected to any data source because you have none." Anyways, so let's create one. LB data source. We're gonna call our data source memory because it's an in-memory database. We're not going to do browser stuff, and we're going to call database.db. Right? This database.db file is going to be a file where it persists the data that's created during a session. There we go. Now we can call the model. LB model. It's going to ask a few questions too, and we're going to be done, which is awesome. And the model name, to do. Straightforward. See, we're going to attach it to the memory data store. This is going to be a persistent model. Exposed via the REST API. That's what we want. No need for a custom proform, and we are going to have a server only kind of deal here. Okay, so let's start adding some properties. Main property of a to-do is its description, and it's a string. We want it to be required, and default value, let's just leave it blank. The other property is completed. It installs if the task has been completed. It is a boolean, it is not required, and the default value is false. We want every time that we create a new task for it to start in an active or uncompleted state, incomplete state. Alright, that's it. That's all the properties we need for the to-do. So just hit enter. And we have a backend. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, if you follow those steps, you can call yourself a backend developer. Awesome, huh? So now the first thing that we're going to do here is we are going to edit the configuration file because we want to change a few things. We want to change our port here specifically to use the 3001 port, and the reason for that is we're going to run our front end on port 3000. So we don't want the ports to be clashing with each other. Awesome. Let's save the file. Yeah, that's it. Another thing that I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to remove the node modules and the package-lock.json because we're going to be using yarn for this tutorial. So yeah, we're going to be avoiding the npm where we can, right? So I'm going to say yarn, and it's going to start basically installing every package for us. Okay. Yeah, yarn tends to be a little bit faster than npm, as you can see, right? Or maybe it's just my connection that got faster. Who knows, right? Yeah, the Wi-Fi is just messy. Also, as you can see, yarn has these little cute icons, especially if you use iTerm2 on a Mac. So you get the emoji goodness, if you use it, which is pretty awesome. You can never get enough emoji in our lives, emoji is the best. Awesome. Now I get a package JSON and a yarn.lock. Cool. So let's try out our server. Node dot. Okay. Aha. It says you'll have a web server listening at localhost 3001, and you can browse your REST API at this address, right? So let's copy this address and give it a go. By the way, I'm using the awesome Firefox Quantum, which is amazing new version of Firefox, super fast. You guys should give it a try. Cool. So this is the Loopback API Explorer. You can see we have like one type of resource here, which is the to-do. So let's expand to see all the freaking endpoints for it, right? And as you guys can see, those cute little LB commands have generated like a gigantic bunch of API endpoints, right? So let's try our new API out, and the Explorer allows us to do that. You can just type the stuff you want here on data. So let's start by adding a new to-do. So the description for the to-do, let's say buy milk. I always do buy milk when I'm doing our to-do apps. When I click on the try it out button, it's going to send a request. So let's do it. All right, you can see the curl command, the request URL. Aha, here's the response, right? So we got a 200, it means 200 okay, and here's the response body, right? We have a description of buy milk, completed is false. You can see that it took the default that we typed when we were setting up our to-do model, and we can see that it has an ID of 1. Awesome sauce. Now we can try out the get to get a list of all the to-dos. And as you can see, here's our buy milk to-do. Really cool stuff. Alright, so that's it for the backend. We know that it works, we know that it's there. Oh, here's that database.db file. If you look at it, you can see it's just like a JSON style thing that loopback creates. No biggie, right? So we have this .git ignore. So we reached a successful part of our thing, right? Where we actually managed to successfully create a working backend using loopback. So let's create a Git repository and commit that to Git, right? But first, we want to edit this git ignore to add this database.db file to it. We don't want to commit the database to Git, right? That would be bad. In fact, let's remove database. Let's initialize a Git repository. And let's take a look at Git status just to see what we have in here. Yeah, looks good, You may want to go to the client and remove the README. We're not gonna need that for now. Git status. Let's just add everything. Let's just commit, say initial commit. Sweet. Very nice. Alright, so we got ourselves a commit. Sweet. Now, next step is going to be we're going to start the front end, and this is going to be the front step. Okay, so we're going to use a thing called create React app to do it. So if we search for it, yay, here's the thing, right? Here's create React app. Create React apps with no build configuration. Because remember, we want to learn React. We don't want to learn how to do huge ass Webpack configs, right? Which are going to be probably like a boilerplate anyway. So yeah, this is the thing, right? So the way you use it is we're going to do npm install -g create React app. There we go. So yeah, well, npm does its thing. So basically, we're going to run create React app, and whoa, that was fast. And it's going to create the skeleton of a React application for us, like this. Creating a React application. Again, CRA, which is a Create React app, actually recognizes Yarn, right? So it will use Yarn if you actually have it installed instead of npm, which is awesome because we're using a Yarn as default in our project. All right. Emojis everywhere, which is awesome. We love emojis. Whoa. Yeah, linking the dependencies seems hard. 20,000 packages. That's a lot of packages. That is a lot of packages. All right. So yeah, while it installs the packages, okay. Oh man, it has to build stuff? That's crazy. Okay. Whoa. Crazy stuff. Alright, it's installed all that stuff. You can see we have like a yarn start, it started the development server and all that stuff. Awesome. So that's the thing that we want. So real quick, so the first thing that we're going to do is, first of all, we want to use awesome Firefox as our browser, right? So we're going to create this .env file here where we are going to set browser to Firefox. Awesome. Now let's take a look at all the files that it has generated for us. It has a git ignore. Alright. Let's do yarn start just to see what it does, right? So yeah, it's going to run this React script start, which is basically responsible for bringing up our little development server for the front end. Awesome. Let's just toss this window back to the first desktop so we can zoom, go back and forth between browser and editor. Okay, it's waiting for localhost. Waiting. Oh, React app. See, that's the app that the little scaffold that we get, right? So we can see here, yeah, it's using the development version of React. And yeah, let's take a look at the app here. So as you can see, I have the React extension, so we can examine React components here. We have this app component, but not much else. Sweet. So we have a React app. Pretty awesome. Let's bring it down for a moment. So we want to configure a couple things, right? So let's bring up package.json. we want to do a few things to this package. You can see this private true, right, which is pretty awesome. You don't want to be inadvertently publishing this package. So we're going to do a configuration here of a proxy. And we want to proxy to localhost 3001. Oops, forgot the comma. JSON is very particular about commas and double quotes. Awesome. So what does this mean? This means that every time that we hit localhost port 3000 with an API request, it is actually going to forward it to the server running on localhost port 3001, which is, if you guys remember, is where our little loopback server is running, right? So this is awesome because it will allow us to do API requests to the loopback server without having to configure like cross origin requests and all that good stuff, right? With no worries about cores. So sweet. Let's try it. Yarn start. It should bring us to the browser as soon as possible. Boom. Here we are at the Firefox. It takes a while to load the app, man. You know? It's probably grinding a lot of gears. Anyway, there we go. Boom. We have our app. Now, more important than that, let's try the Explorer. We don't get the Explorer. We can only do API calls on port 3000. So if we say something like reduce, we get the app because we actually have to set up application type of a content type of application.json. So that's why it doesn't proxy. It looks at the content type. Sweet. Now we probably want to commit all this stuff. So let's look at the Git status. See, there's a lot of stuff here, but basically all the client stuff, right? So let's do the git add, git commit. We're gonna commit. We're going to say added CRA staff. Nice. Save that. We're good to go. Awesome. Alright. Now we're actually going to start developing this. Well, not quite. Because here's the thing, right? What we really want to do is to be able to say something like yarn start here at the root of the application and have it start both with the server and the client, right? So both start serving the API and start serving the actual front-end files, right? But right now, we're not configured to do that. So we're going to do the configuration right now. Okay. Here's our package.json. Awesome. Lots of stuff there. You can see the start is node dot, just like what we did, node dot. Awesome. We're going to add a new package here called concurrently. What concurrently does it allows you to run multiple things at once in your npm scripts. So we're going to use it to run both the client and the server. It's installing the dependencies, doing all that good stuff. Now we can open package.json and we can do something really awesome here, which is modify the start scripts to use concurrently. So we're going to concurrently run node dot and also cd client and npm start. Okay, that looks good. Let's save it and let's rock and roll. Start. You can see that it's running the concurrently thing. Yeah, this one is the client, and I guess the server gets a 0 tag. Very cool. Starting the development server. It brings us to Firefox. So we managed to successfully start the React app. And at the same time, if we try the Livecoding Explorer, you can see that, hey, it works, right? We can see our API here, and at the same time, the React application has loaded fine. Awesome. Really awesome. Okay, we can stop this, and we can probably commit the changes that we've made. Say git commit. And commit message, we say add master npm start scripts. Awesome. Yeah, we're looking good, man. We're looking good. Okay. Now, first thing that we want to do is go back to the client. And we really want to look at this stuff, right? So first of all, it's in the public directory, right? It's a bunch of stuff here. We're going to go with the index.html, and we're going to do something really simple here, which is we're going to call this, change the title to do app. Very sweet. So we write it, then start, just to check it out. Let's just see if our change is being properly reflected in the actual app. Let's close the other tabs. Again, it takes a long time to load. Oh, it says to do app. Nice. Alright. Okay, let's commit that. Yeah, I'm using a little Vim plugin to do the Git stuff here. Change title to do app. Commit. Sweet. Okay. But let's go back here. Okay. Let's go to the client. Let's take a look at the what's in the source directory. So it's like a bunch of stuff, right? It is a bunch of stuff. So we have an app.css, app.js, app.test, lots of stuff. We are going to start by removing that logo.svg. We're not going to use it. We're going to remove the app test as well. Okay, now we're good. Now we're good to go. Let's look at the index.js. As you can see, it's really simple. It will mount the app component in this div with the ID of root. Pretty straightforward. Not a lot going on here. Now let's look at the app.js. Okay, creates a component called app, and it's really simple. It just has a bunch of divs, a bunch of stuff. Not much. So what we're going to do here is we are going to make a few interesting changes. So first of all, you can see that we deleted those two files, right? And what we're going to do here, as you can see, we have a very flat directory tree. We are going to introduce some new directories. So we're going to make a directory called components. And we are going to make a directory called components app, and we're going to move app.css into components/app/index.css. App.js goes into components app index.js. Okay. So now our tree looks like this. Now we have to edit the index.js file. We're going to import app from components app. Save it. App. Okay, so this thing uses this logo or whatnot, right? We're going to change things a little bit and say to do app. Just for funsies, right? We're going to change this later. Getting started with the to-do app. Awesome. Oops. So yarn start at the root should work. Oh, it says can't resolve app.css. See? First mistake. So because we changed it to index.css. Come on. Okay, now if we save it, you see that the thing here just runs, right? And recompiles stuff. And now I can't find loaded SVG, which we deleted. So we just don't import it anymore, and it should work now. So it says to-do app, and we're getting started with the to-do app. Pretty silly, but what can we do, right? Awesome. Really cool. Now let's stop this and let's commit what we've done. So yeah, let's stage all those changes here and commit. Let me see, cleaning up CRE scaffold. All right. Now, okay, good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start creating a React app that's basically has the exact same looks and structure as our final app, but it has no functionality or interactivity. You will just have the presentational components that make up our final app, right? So we're going to just have like the shell, the skeleton of it. It's not going to respond interactively to whatever the user is doing, or also it is not going to contact the server yet. So, all right, let's get started. So basically, if we remember what we were discussing about our to-do app, right? So it will start with a title bar where it's going to have the to-do app title, and then it's going to have an input bar with an input and a button, an add button, where the user types the to-dos. Then it's going to have the to-do list itself, taking up the body of the application. And then in a little footer at the bottom, we're going to have the visibility filter. So for that's at least four components, right? The title bar, the input bar, the to-do list, and the visibility filter. And of course, our root component is the app itself, right? So yeah, let's just get started. So first of all, uh, I already have some pre-cooked CSS files for just to speed up development. We don't want to be fiddling with CSS here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy those over. So they are in my GitHub, pre-cooked CSS, src. Let's start with index.css. Awesome. Now I'm going to do the same with app. Oops, components. God, I freaking hate this. Yes. Components, app, index, CSS. Sweet. Let's take a look at those. So index CSS is really basic. It does some resets, imports the Roboto font, uses that in the body. Nothing fancy. The app, nothing fancy either, right? Just like a bunch of things. Title row, title, nothing major. Now let's go here to the app, and we're going to do a mini title bar thing right here, just a mini title bar. So I have a div with a class name of app, which is cool. We're also going to do an ID of app. to match the app CSS. You see, like it has this app ID here. Awesome. Now all the stuff we're going to blow it, right? And we're going to say we're going to create a div with a class name of title. And here we're going to have another div class name of title. Here we're going to say todo app. Sweet. That's it. Not a lot. Save all the files and yarn start. It's going to look very different this time. Hooray! Have a to-do app. Basically just like the app box, right? Now, okay, we have this, but I mean, this is the app component, right? It's like the root component. We don't want to have all this business, these divs hanging around that, right? So what we really want to do is have everything that's under this title row to move to a separate component. This is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to create a new component called title bar. Awesome. And there we go. We're going to edit source components. Oops. Actually, no. I'm going to edit source components. Title bar index.js. So we want to import React from React. And we're going to create a functional style component. Because title bar equals Jesus. Alright, I'm going to grab this thing, this div, put it right here. And that's our functional component. So in here, we're going to import title bar from title bar. And of course, we're just going to use it here. Okay, so we wrote it, reloads, awesome. You may want to look at the React extension to see, oops, to see our components. So we have the app root component, we have our div, and we have the title bar right here. Sweet. That's awesome. That is super cool. Okay, let's continue with our little title bar. So remember that the next thing we had was this I won't say next thing, but another thing we had in the title bar would be like this spinner, this loading indicator, right? So let's code that. So we're going to create a spinner component, right? And this one comes with its pre-cooked CSS, man. Now we are going to create this new spinner component. So it's component spinner index.js. Awesome. Same thing. Import React from React. Awesome. And this thing, for what it's worth, I mean, it can be very well a functional component, right? So let's do it like that. Jesus. Okay, we need to import the CSS. We need to import the CSS here, and now we can get started with our little spinner. So the spinner, let's do it with a prop called loading. So I'm going to use this CSS, ES6 destructuring syntax to retrieve a property called loading from the first argument of our functional component, which is the props. Is always the props of the component, right? And let's do the boilerplate stuff first. Let's say export default spinner. Oh, cool. Now, what we want really is something like this. Yeah. You see, we want a div with a class called spinner. So we're going to do a return. Let's do an enclosing div. Now I'm going to have a class name of spinner here, right? But this is a really bad thing. You see that we have a loading class here. Oh Jesus! Oh God! Oh God! We have a loading class here that makes the spinner visible, right? And we wanted to conditionally add this loading class to the spinner in case the loading prop is true. So we could do something like this, right? We could basically construct a string with spinner space loading in case the thing was loading, right? But the legit way of doing this is to actually use a little package called class names, which we're going to install with yarn right now. So we're going to do a yarn add class names. And you guys are going to see this is like a little fun helper package for dynamically constructing class names for our components. So before I finish starting, I already know how it works, right? So I can start working it using it here. Import class names from class names. Sweet. Okay. Now let's create a variable called classes, and it is class names. So the spinner, right? So we want the spinner class to always be there. So we pass it a true. Now the loading class is a conditional, right? So we want the loading class to be there if the loading prop is true. So we just say loading here. And it should be good. Now all we need to do is patch this here. So we do Autocomplete for the win. All right. We have our spinner. Now, what we want to do is go back to the title bar, and we're going to use that spinner. Import spinner. Oh no. From we have the spinner. So right next to the title, we're going to add the spinner. We're going to say spinner. We're going to say loading equals true. Because we want it to be visible, because we want to figure out if whatever we're doing works, right? Okay. So now we save it. It's compiling all the stuff. It says, woo! Oh my goodness. There's our spinner. And it spins, baby. It spins. Now, if we change this true to false, and we save, let's wait until our compile finishes to see what happens. Okay, so now it is not visible. You can see it here in our little React extension, you know, that it's there, but it has loading false. Which is great, awesome, really cool, really cool. Let's commit all the stuff. You know, I just noticed that I haven't committed a lot of stuff yet. So we are going to need to commit all of this business. I'm going to say add title bar plus spinner. Commit it. Good. Awesome. Sweet. All right. Now you can see that our little oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Our little source tree is growing, right? I did a command on the client root, and that because of node modules, that would be like an infinite number of files, so don't do that. Anyway, good. Now what we want to do, the last thing that we need to do in the title bar is the error banner. So let's create the file structure for the error banner. We create this error banner directory for the component. Also remember, we have some pre-cut CSS for it. For the error banner. Very nice. Let's look at that CSS. Alright, so we have error banner, you know, we have this has error property. You know, it has like an icon warning. It looks kind of complicated, but trust me, it is not. We're going to create the error banner component and it's going to be very similar to what we have in the spinner component. So we'll see. Source, components, error banner, index.js. Alright, so I want to have the CSS here in my view. Let's do a zoom to our thing here. Yeah, I want to have the spinner in view, and the reason for that is that our main format is going to be very simple, very similar to the spinner, you know, because it's a simple presentational component, you know. It's very simple. All right, it looks kind of similar now, but you know, it has a few important differences. First of all, we want this error banner class to be always present, and okay, the prop is called error now. It's called a prop error. And now we can see here in the CSS that has error property determines whether or not it's visible. So has error if the error is present. So let's coerce it. Oh my god. It's indeed error. Let's coerce it to a boolean and be done with, right? Okay. So this is going to be a div like this, right? But we are going to have a few spans here because, as we can see from the CSS, we have an icon warning here. So let's do that icon. So class name equals icon warning, and it's going to be this hex 26A0, which is the Unicode for this little triangle with a exclamation point inside, which screams error to me, right? Class name error text, and this is going to contain the error text. And finally, okay, so the banner with an error shows up, right? We need to have some sort of button, like a little X button to close it when the user has already acknowledged the error, right? So let's do that. Let's do a little error button. So we're going to call this close button, and yeah, and we're going to have this. Oh Jesus, this sucks. F times HTML entity, which is a little centered X. works very well as a close button icon. Okay, but you know, a close button needs to do something, right? So we have to put that something here, which is a on click. Let's create this clear error callback, right? And where do we get that callback from? Well, it's very simple. You will get it from a prop. So from a prop called clear error, you know, and yeah, and that's about it. That's our little error banner. Now we're going to put that in our title bar. That's going to be awesome. We're going to put it right here. We're going to give an error of stuff happened. 3 exclamation points. And on click, let's just pop an alert. How about that, huh? Saying error banner closed. Very excellent. Oh my goodness. Okay, write the file. Let's unzoom. Okay, error banner is not defined, and the reason why is we need to import it here, right? So we import. I'm doing a dirty little trick where I just copy a thing and do replace, you know, to avoid typing. Okay, we compiled successfully. Let's see. I see our little banner here. Stuff happened. When you click this, probably nothing happens because stuff, right? I think alerts are blocked. Anyways, it compiles. That's all that matters. Doesn't need to do anything because we are going to implement the init does something later. Oh, the reason why it doesn't work it's because the callbacks doesn't. It's not called on click. It's called clear error. Which we fixed. Jesus. Okay. Oh man, alerts. 1999 says hi. Awesome. Okay. Okay, we have an error banner. This means we need to commit. Modify the title bar to edit, and we introduced 2 files here. Sweet. Say add error banner. Commit. Awesome. Nice. So we have a full title bar now. Let's switch the spinner back to true, just so we can see everything. Okay, we can see everything that we've done. See, so we have the to-do app title, we have the error banner, we have the spinner. Everything looks good. We're happy. Nice. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Now, the next thing that we need to work on is, I'm gonna close this editor because it has so many open files. Okay, next thing we need to work on is essentially the input bar. So here we are. I'm going to go to components and I'm going to create a new component called input bar. Nice. So as usual, I have some cooked CSS, pre-cooked CSS files going on. Very cool. Let's see the input bar. Is there a class of input? You know, very cool. Very cool. We need to add that new JS file for the input bar, man. Yeah, this one is going to be a little bit more involved. That's fine. Index.js. All right. First of all, we import React from React, right? And we import index.css. Now, okay. So, because the input bar is going to be a bit more complicated, right? It is going to have some more complicated error handlers, right? So for that reason, I like to use like private event handlers in a component, and when I'm doing that, I use the class form of declaring a component. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say class input bar extends react.components. One day, my friends, one day. Okay. And all right. So first things first, we want to render the looks of our input bar. So we have to return a div, obviously. A div. Let's give it the ID of input. Class name input, just like our CSS. And I'll close this div. Okay. Now we're going to add the input itself. Type is going to be text. The name. Let's put input to do. ID is going to be input to do. What else? A class name, sure. to match our CSS, right? Now we're going to give it a placeholder which is copied straight from to-do MVC, which is what needs to be done. Right? This text is going to show up inside the input while when it's empty. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, we can leave it at that for now. And now we're going to do a button with ID of button add. Class name of button add. Make it a plus sign. Okay. Well, so far so good, right? Now, what we want to do is go back to the app component. We're going to import our input bar here. And we need to let it roll. We should be looking at our awesome title bar shortly, except we're not. And the reason for that is we forgot to export the input bar class. So export input bar. Come on. We write everything. Compiled successfully. Now that's a lot better. You can buy milk if we want to. Very nice. Okay. Now let's make it functional. You know, we need to add certain callbacks, stuff like that to make this work, right? So first of all, we want to grab the value of this input essentially, right? And the best way to do this, with the least amount of headaches, is to actually use what React terminology calls a React managed form component. So the way we do that is we are going to bind the value of the input to the internal state of the component, like this, right? So we're going to say the value of this is dot state dot value, okay? And now we're going to say that on change, when this thing changes, we're going to call a function, right? And this is going to be this dot handle change. Amazing. But now because we're doing internal state and all that, first of all, to do internal state, you actually need a class-based component, so that was a good call. Also, we need to do a constructor with no double T's. And it takes props. passes the props super awesome, and now he sets the initial state to have a property called value, which is an empty string. Very cool. Now all we need to do is the handle change. Okay, so let's look at an interesting technique here for these kinds of event handlers in React, right? So because ES6, ES 2015 classes, their internal methods, the methods are actually not bound to the object, we need to do that binding somewhere, right? So there's two ways of doing it. One of them is to actually do the binding in the constructor. So it would be something like this, right? This dot handle change dot bind. Oops, no, that's absolutely incorrect. This dot handle change equals this dot handle change dot bind this, right? You've probably seen this before. It works great. I don't use it because it looks clunky as hell. So the way I do this typically is using a ES6 plus ES 2017 or whatnot. It's called a property, right? A instance property or whatnot. So you say handle change, instead of saying this, and you're going to make it a property, right? And let's put the event here, and we're going to make it an arrow function, right? And arrow functions are awesome. So the reason why the arrow function here in the property is awesome is because arrow functions are actually bound to the object, right? So in doing so, we don't need to actually bind the function. It's already born bound to the proper context. So we're just going to need to say something like this dot set state, and we're going to set value. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Value, and the value is going to be the target of the event, right? So event target value. Very cool. So now if we save this, which it should work, we're going to need our little React extension here to see what's going on. Oh my goodness, is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to find the input bar right here. So you see, it has a state. Input bar has a state. Now if I go here and type something, it will change the state, right? It's because every time you type on input, it will call handle change. In handle change, we will actually set the state to whatever has been typed there, So sweet. And the fact that the value is bound to the state, this.state.value, makes sure that it keeps the whatever it typed, it keeps displayed there in the input box. Okay, cool. Now we need to do submit here, right? So the way we do that is essentially we're going to do two things. So first, let's do the button. Let's do the button first, right? So we're going to create something that's called handle click. Gets an event, and now we're going to do the default incantation for click events, which is event.prevent the phone. We want to hijack the event propagation, basically stop propagation. And now we're going to say this dot we're going to do something that's called the handle submit. And handle submit is also going to be one of those property-like methods where we say we want to add the to-do, right? So we're going to receive from this component a prop called add to-do. And we're just going to pass it the value, call it with the value. This.state.value. Pretty straightforward. But, once having passed the value, we want to clear the field, right? So that's it. That's it. That's nice. Okay. I love it. So we're going to do it on click here. That's this dot handle click. Save it. It's obviously going to crash and burn if we try it now, right? Because we don't, input bar is not being passed the add to do prop by the app, right? So yeah, let's do that. Let's pass a mock add to do here, and we're going to use that 1999 method that we just used, which is alert, and we're going to say to do added. And we can say to do. Sure, it's not exactly the to do, it's a description, right? So let's remove that. Let's change that. Oh, you know, nope, didn't work. It's easier to do it this way, honestly. Okay. Oh my goodness, I don't know why I do this. Okay, very cool. So we have here, let's say buy milk. Click the button to do edit, buy milk. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. We are looking good so far. So let's finish this, which is basically submit when I hit enter, right? So to do that, we're going to have to use an event listener for key press, and that's going to be awesome. So let's do handle key press. Again, take an event, and if event that char code, the char code of the event is 13, which is the enter, we're going to do some of the same bullshit, right? Event prevent the fall. Stop propagation and hand submit. Now handle key press. And the to-do gets added. Nice. All right. Well, that concludes our input bar. It's pretty straightforward, right? Cool. Commit. Add input bar. Save it. We look good. We look awesome. All right. So the first two most top level components that we wanted are in. Now, the next one we're missing is the infamous to-do list, the actual list. So let's create it. Let's create the to-do list. We're going to do the default procedure at this point. Create a to-do list component. Very cool. Yeah, I have some pre-cooked stuff for that as well, which I'm copying here. Nice. Let's take a look at the to-do list. Very nice. Very cool. So yeah, that's our to-do list. Not a whole lot going on. Not a whole lot. So now you guys already are familiarized with what we're going to do at this point, which is we're going to create the index.js for to-do lists. And like that. First components, to-do lists, index.js. This one will be straightforward. Import React from React. So you may be asking, why the hell are we importing React all the time, even if we're not going to use it? And the reason why is you actually need to do it every time in order to be able to use JSX syntax. Oh my goodness, what is going on? So because JSX processing actually will transform the little tags, the little inline tags that you use in JSX syntax, it'll transform those into a call to React.create element. So that's why you need to have React imported in your module, even though you are not using it yourself. What can you do, right? So the to-do list. Oh my goodness. To-do list. Alright. To-do list is going to be sort of tricky, really. You'll get an array of a list of to-dos through this property, right? Through this prop. And it will return a to-do list. So it's going to be a div with an ID of to-do-list, the class name of to-do-list. Let's close that. Very nice. Now we are going to have our to-dos inside of an actual list, a unordered list. And what we're going to do with this array of to-dos, we're going to use a functional form, which is something like this, right? I'm going to say to-dos.map to-do index, right? And we're going to say li, oh my goodness, key equals to-do.id. Okay. And then I can actually put the to-do the description here, and then I can close the li. And I can use this form here to do basically this, right? So there's that map. Very cool. Yeah, interesting. Now we need to use this from inside our app component. So let's do just that. Import to list from to-do lists. And oh my goodness, to-do list, to-dos. Description by milk, ID. Oh man. ID1. This should do it. This should do it. Compiling, probably not gonna work. It's taking too long. Yep, forgot to export default. How amazing is that? Not that is compiled successfully. Oh wow, that's cool. It says buy milk. Now, what we really want to do here is, we don't want to be doing LIs and just, adding the description there, all sorts of stuff like that. So we really want to have a component specifically for the to-do item, right? So that's what we're going to create right now. We're going to create a component called a to-do. So we can actually more or less abstract the internals of the to-do data object from the to-do list component, right? So very cool. I don't think I don't have pre-cooked anything for that element. So let's just get started. Let's create the index.js for the to-dos, for the to-do component, right? And pretty straightforward. Now the to-do. Let's do it as a class component, do it as a class component, class-based component. So we render. Awesome. So we're going to get the to-do from prop, right? The prop. This dot props. Awesome. And we're going to return something not necessarily terrible, but you know. We're going to give class name of to-do item, and then when the to-do item gets clicked, I want to make it to toggle it between completed and active states, right? So I want to have an on click here. This is the reason why we started with a class-based component. And I'm going to say this handle click. You guys probably already noticed that every time you have a on X event, we typically create a function called handle X to be the event handler. That's pretty idiomatic. Now we're going to put a checkbox here which is going to be a read-only checkbox. It's only going to be there for displaying whether or not this to-do has been completed. So it's going to be a checked checkbox if the to-do is completed. Input that checkbox, and I'm going to say checked. This dot actually no to-do that's completed. To-do that completed. And this is going to be read only. After that, I'm going to put the to-do description. To-do, not dude. Dude. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Except that we have to do the handle click stuff, right? So the handle click stuff, we're going to do this. We're going to say handle click takes an event. You guys probably already know this by heart by now. Prevent default, stop propagation. And interestingly, we're going to have a prop called toggle to do, which is the callback that we're going to provide to the parent of the to do component for it to pass a callback to call when the to do gets toggled. Really straightforward in these props. These come from props. Have a little space there. Okay. Now we're going to toggle to do, pass it the current to do. Awesome. Now the right to do. Okay. Export the full not to do. Very cool. Looking good. Now we want to import to do from to do. Here in the map, we're still going to keep the li. You notice how the to-do component, the to-do component's outer element is not an li. Don't do that. That is really like a React anti pattern, right? Like you really don't want to do that because that makes your components less reusable. You'd only be able to use them inside the UL or OL. So don't do that. You know, just wrap everything with a div, and then you can use that component anywhere inside the list, outside, doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to change what's inside these tags to use the to-do with a to-do equals to-do and a toggle to-do equals, I'm going to put a simple function here saying to-do alert toggled description and here I'm going to just grab the description. Now we close the to-do. Save everything. Let's see if it's going to work. Compiled successfully. Alright. So we have the little checkbox here to say if it's completed or not. Because our click is not changing the state, the little checkbox is actually not getting checked. But that's it. We have the to-do list working just fine. Working just great. To try it out some more, I'm actually going to do something here. I'm going to create another to-do here. Buy oranges. And it's going to have completed true. So let's save that. You see that the checkbox is checked? That's because the completed is set to true. Awesome. And toggle buy oranges, toggle buy milk. Sweet. So now you notice that buy oranges actually comes later. in the list, like it's actually the second element of the list. So why is it being displayed first? So the reason for this is a really cool trick in the CSS of to-do list. So to-do list uses a really cool trick. So you see to-do list actually uses a display flex, uses flexbox. And the way we actually display the items in reverse is by using this flex direction column reverse, right? So if we actually went here and let me do that real quick and change that to column, it would display the item in the correct order, right? But we don't want that. We want, you know, the last to do to be created to be displayed first. So that's why we use this column reverse, and now we get that effect without actually having to reorder whatever input we would be getting from the server in JavaScript. You know, you just let the CSS do that job for you, man. You know, much easier. Sick. Now let's commit this stuff, man. Let's commit. We added the to-do list and the to-do. Very cool. So you see a little set of components is growing. We have 7 so far. Alright. So now for the wrap up, we're going to add the visibility filter component. That component is going to be pretty cool. So it basically allows you to toggle the view between all kinds of components, right? So it'll toggle the view between to-dos that have been completed, to-dos that are active, or all of them. That's the idea. Let's create a visibility filter. And let's copy. I have some precut CSS, as you guys may have guessed, for the visibility filter. Alright, let's start. Here's the CSS. This one is going to have a neat trick as well. Let's see if you guys can spot that. Actually, the whole visibility filter component, you know, is going to be filled with neat little tricks. Neat tricks. We all love those. Import React from React. And that's what CSS. You know, the works, man. The works. Alright. Just simple functional component, right? Nothing special. It's going to take 2 props. I'm going to have to explain these. Filter is the current filter, right? It's either all or active or completed. An on-filter change is a callback that this component is going to call if the user has changed the filter. So let's do it. So we're going to return a div whose ID is going to be visibility filter, and his class name is visibility filter too. Very nice. Let's close our div. Okay. So we're going to put the label here. Say display. Oh my god. That's pretty insane. Alright. Now we're going to do another div here. And this is for the little group of buttons. We're going to say we're going to call it a control group. And the class name is going to be a button group, which is, you know, a group of buttons. Nothing. Nothing crazy. Alright. So what we're doing here is we're going to put some buttons here, right? We're going to put a button. His ID is going to be visibility filter button all. You know, for the all filter. And the class name is going to be visibility filter button. And that's it. And when it's clicked, I want it to call on filter change with the type all. Very cool. Well, actually, hold up. And I want to say all here. Alright, now we're going to replicate this button twice, right? So let's say here for active, 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 right? Completed, completed, completed. save this. Now we want to add the visibility filter to our app component. Save everything. Is obviously not going to compile for the default reason, right? All right. Compiled successful. Yay! We have buttons. If we click them, we probably get an exception. Boom. Yeah. On filter change is not a function. Oh well. Right. So there are a few extra things that I need to do for this to work okay. So first, a class name here, right? Can need I need to add, the active class here, right? So for example, if I set this to active, look what's going to happen. Right? You see that the button displays as active, right? As if like that state is the current state. And check this out. It's going to change to completed. Boom. Very cool. So I need a way to inject that. And also, like, notice how much boilerplate is going on in here, right? Like, this is freaking madness, guys. So yeah, what do we do, man? What do we do? And there's a obvious-ish answer for that, which is to extract these buttons into a new component, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to call it the visibility filter button, and there we go. This one, you know, same deal. Let's copy this skeleton here. All right. Okay. So what do we want to say to the button, right? A lot of things. So first of all, I'd like to actually pass in the type of the button, right? Like it's all active completed. I'd like to be able to pass that here, you know, and just not care about it anymore, you know. And then the filter, you know, if we go here, notice that I actually have to pass the filter because reasons. No, because probably what we are going to want to do is figure out if we're active or not, right? So to see if the button is active, we need to see if filter corresponds to the actual button type, right? So there's that. And on filter change is the same thing, right? So you're just going to pass that along. So let's do this. Let's just grab one of those, put here. It looks it's sort of okay, you know, but let's break this down a little bit more, right? So we're getting the button type, right? So let's do this and let's construct the ID here from the type. Awesome. Very cool. Now the class name, what do we do with class names? Well, we import class names. To construct class names dynamically. To do so, we're going to need to change this to return statement. Put the button in. Very nice. Okay. Now let's construct the classes here. So first we want That's always true, but active, we want that to be present only if our type is the same as the current filter. Now, we're going to say classes here. One click. For on click, we can just say on filter change type, right? And then we can just put the type here. That looks super cool. So I can just import it here from visibility filter and just use that. No problem. You can see visibility, filter button, type equals all. Filter is filter. And on filter change is on filter change. So now we have all active and completed. Save that. Of course, oh my goodness. Yeah, visibility filter button doesn't have CSS. Okay, fair enough. Compile successfully. Okay, so now we have this ugly all caps, right? So how do we solve this? It's fairly straightforward. So we go here to visibility filter button, and we're going to do something really cool. We're going to say type lower the equals a type dot to lowercase. right? And we're going to apply that where we want. So type lower here. On filter change, we're going to say type, and we're going to say type lower here. So now we're going to say, oh, okay, but now, you know, it's awful, right? Because it was all caps and now it's all lowercase inside the button text, right? Well, here's what happened. It's strangely capitalized. How is that possible? Well, the reason why it's possible is this, right? So, oh my god. If you see here in the CSS, there's a text transform to capitalize. So I mean, why do the capitalization in JavaScript if CSS can actually do that for you, right? Very cool. So now I'm actually going to teach you a trick that's very idiomatic in React and Redux applications. So you see, these types all active completed. I could very well have mistyped one of those, and that would break my entire application, right? So how do I fix that? So the way I fix that is I'm going to create a directory here for constants, right? And inside the constants directory, I am going to create a series of constants for visibility filter types. So I'm going to say visibility filter types.js, and I'm going just to do something really simple, which is oh my goodness. Really simple like that. Now I am going to employ it here. Port from constants slash visibility filter types. And now I'm going to use the constants here, right? So now, because the constants are actually words in my programming language now, if I mistype one of them, I'll get caught. You know, if I put double D here, for example, let's save everything and see what happens. And of course, I can't just import everything into my current namespace. Let's see what happens. See, completed double D is not defined. Now, if I just let it roll, compiled successfully. Everything works great. Now I can go to my app.js and start putting some props there for the visibility filter. Let's check out the props. So filter and on filter change, right? So for filter, I'm going to say active. And for on filter change, I'm going to say alert new filter F. Oh god. Okay. See? Now if I click here, no filter, all, no filter, active, no filter, completed. Very nice. Very nice. Let's commit that. Commit the visibility filter. 2, 3, 4. Add visibility filter. Very cool. So now our app is essentially complete. All the visual elements, all the controls are there, all the components are there, right? So now the next step is to basically just start adding the functionality to it. And to do that, we're going to use Redux, and we're going to start calling into the API. But that's going to be something for the next video. See you guys next time. Till then, take it easy.